Tough. Oh. ほう。せや。
I'm going to talk anyway, just so you know what's going on. I'm just in the training area to practice shit. Also, this build is like paralyze opponent, get behind them, and then do this move, which just murders them. But yeah, but as you see, I have to sheath, right, to do the move. So this is just normal sheath animation, right? Kind of long. What you can do is just step forward. So like basically, if you sheath your weapon in normal gameplay, if you just sheath your weapon and then move around, it's just sheathed, right? No animation. So what you can do is like sheath, step forward, and your weapon is just immediately sheathed, right? So this is just standard sheath canceling, right? But then you can use that with the move. If I cannot fuck it up, and it just comes out. So like compare normal, how long it takes to come out versus, whoops, let's do it again. Normal versus canceled. It just comes out a lot faster. It's also not, there's certain situations where you kind of don't need to do it. So like at the end of a combo, there's a thing in the game called key pulse. So if you look at your stamina bar up top, you can see the red chunk, right? And what that is stamina you can regain, you can get back, right? So if I do a move, there's a little bit of red that I can get back. But if I immediately do another move, it kind of goes away. So you can see just how it's depleting. But at the end of a combo, if you hit R1 at the right time, you can hit R1 at any point and regain some of it, right? So you'll see, like, if I hit it early, as the green bar is going back up, you'll see that I regain however much where the green bar is at when I hit R1. But if you perfectly time it, of course, you can get it all back. And that's a perfect key pulse. And then there's like all kinds of skills and shit you can get that will give you buffs if you perfectly time your key pulses right. But another thing is the sheath command is R1 and circle. So you can go perfect time key pulse into that move. And if you do it with a perfectly timed key pulse, it comes out a lot faster. So you kind of don't need to do the cancel then. Yeah, it's a little bit faster. It's not a ton faster, but you don't do the entire sheathing animation, so it's faster. The only problem is you also have stances. So if you see down here on the bottom right, I'm in low stance, mid stance, high stance, and then circle is sheath, right? So I tend to like do these fast combos in low stance, but then I want to do the slash in high stance because I have like, one, it's just stronger in general, but then I also have this thing applied to it that makes it even stronger based on a stat I have, right? So I almost always want to do the sign of the cross in high stance. So I do like a combo and then key pulse into high stance. The problem is then, because I use the key pulse to switch stances, I don't get the benefit of the key pulse on the move itself, which makes it faster, right? So in that case, I have to do the canceling if I want it to come out fast. So I have to do like combo into stance change into the slash with the cancel, and so I have a little trouble being consistent doing that. So right there, I did it successfully. Like I can do it pretty consistently out of combat. Well, except for there. Dude, Tekken's way harder. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, see right there, I messed it up because I did the entire sheathing animation. God damn it. So there was a good one. And the thing I was messing up just now, so the way I've been practicing is like, okay, obviously, just sheath canceling, right? Like that. You just hit the sheath button and then you step forward and it cancels it. So the next step after that is canceling and then into the move, right? So I just do that. So that's just the simplest form of the thing is cancel. She cancel into the move, and then I started practicing stance change, cancel into the move. So like you can just stance change whenever you want by hitting R1 and then triangle, squares, or X to go into the different stances. So then I started practicing stance change, sheath cancel into the move. So that was wrong. So like this is just stance change into the move, right? So now there, like I just did it. So I'm in low stance, high stance. Oops. Swap to high stance and then do the move, right? Then I practiced, I want to say, I think the thing I was practicing is combo stance change into the move, or like just combo into the move. Oh my god. Oh my god. So the problem is, and this is the thing I mess up in combat all the time, is I kind of do the inputs for this little combo pretty fast. So my tendency is when I go to do the cancel, to do the inputs for the cancel at the same speed, and that almost always fucks it up. Yeah, like, it has to be a little bit slower, because it's R1 circle, forward, R1 circle. And like I said, that's too quick, it doesn't work. Like right there, that was it. But that was in low stance, right? Because I want to do the move in high stance. So now I have to do it with the stance change. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm actually better at the stance change version than I am at the no stance change version. But the no stance change version, I don't really need to do if I do my key pulls correctly. Hell, even if you don't get a perfect key pulse, it's still faster than... Like that is still faster than just that. So I only really need to do it when I'm doing the stance change mid combo, which it didn't do then. So that one was right. But then the really hard one, because the combo I like to do ends with a really crazy jump move. What? Hold on, Austin is talking to me. Yeah, so and it's kind of dumb for me to practice it this way because here's the crazy like jump attack. It puts me on the other side of the enemy, so now I'm facing the camera. So if the camera doesn't move with me, in this case, because I don't have a target lock on, I have to then do the input slightly differently because I have to move forward towards the camera. So I have to hit down. I don't have to. Like you can cancel it with movement in any direction, but if the enemy is here towards the camera, then I have to move towards him to then hit him with the move. But the problem is, there's really no point practicing it this way, because I could do like... whoops, I messed it up. There's really no point practicing it this way, because if I'm locked onto an opponent, the camera's going to move with me, so I can basically do the inputs the same. I'll even try to do it against an enemy here. Hey, there's Austin. Alright, so... But yeah, see how the camera stays? Yeah. Oh, whoops, the enemy's dead. Alright, cool. Austin, Scotty's in here, so that's who I was talking to when you came in. I was explaining this whole dumb thing to him. Now I get to explain it again because you're here. Alright, so let me get this guy out of here. Let's see. Oh, did Scotty leave? No, it says only one watching. Let me kill this enemy and I'll explain this nonsense again. Yeah, he might have. Did he leave? I guess he did. He was eating lunch, so I was just explaining shit to him. And showing him Nioh, too, in general. Yeah, see, I goofed it. Oh, no. Okay. I think PlayStation's, like, how many people are watching thing is bugged, because it changes all the time. They should say 2, and it just told me 1 was watching, so I don't know what's going on. We'll say now it says 2 are watching. Alright, so anyway, Austin, the move that this entire build is built around. Oh, does it show the notifications on the stream? Like, does it show y'all's chat messages? Like, I never confirmed whether or not that happens. I guess I could just pull the stream up and see for myself. Wait, it doesn't? It does or it doesn't? No, I'm just in the training area. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so in the PlayStation UI, it shows, when y'all talk, it shows them on the screen for me, right? But I was wondering if those pop up in the video, but I guess they don't, which makes sense. Anyway, Austin, this whole build is built around this cross slash. It's called Sign of the Cross. It's a Catholic move, obviously. And so the thing, oh yeah, it's going to be like 30 seconds behind, which I feel like old YouTube streaming on PS4 was not that delayed, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, Sign of the Cross. It's kind of like EI Splash, right, with this is a single katana, right? The issue is that you do this entire sheathing animation, which is kind of long. Yeah, but they usually have that as an option, right? Stream sniping, like if you don't care about stream sniping, you can turn down the delay or whatever, but I don't know. Anyway, Sign of the Cross. Takes a long time. But the thing you can do is when you sheath, if you're moving, alright, see ya, Scotty. If you move, so like say I'm moving right now and I sheath my weapon, well, that sheaths faster, but also if I start sheathing and then move, it will my weapons will be sheathed instantly, right? So basically moving cancels the sheathing animation, right? You see, I hit sheath and now I'm just suddenly sheathed because I stepped forward. So you can actually use that to your advantage when doing this move. Right? So like compare the time it takes to just do it without moving versus with the animation canceling it. Comes out quite a bit faster, like almost, I would say like half a second or more, right? But it's hard to do. So like initially I would just practice just canceling the animation, right? So I have swords out, I start the sheath animation, and then I just step forward and cancel it, right? So then the next step after that is doing that into the move, so like that. Then, then the next step is like do it at the end of a combo. So the funny thing is, I have to explain another mechanic to you real quick. So you see my green bar? That's my stamina bar, right? It's called ki in this game, but it's stamina, right? But one of the like unique mechanics is you'll see as I'm like doing moves and stuff, right? There's a red chunk, right? And what that is stamina that you can regain if you do a ki pulse, which is hitting R1. So you see these like white sparklies that appear around me? That is me like regaining ki. You can hit R1 at any point during that animation, And if you look at the green bar, after I stop a combo, it starts to fill back up, right? There's a white bar that fills up. If I hit R1 at any point, it will regain that much damage, like wherever that white bar is whenever I hit R1. But you can also time it such that you do a perfect key pulse and regain all of your stamina. And you can tell the difference, right? That's a perfect key pulse versus that, which is super early key pulse, right? So if I key pulse, and key pulse is R1, which is one of the buttons you push. It's the button you have to hold to do stance changes. So I'm in like low, medium, high stance. But it's also the button, if you look down on the bottom right, I have that X square triangle circle. X square and triangle are the stances, and then circle is sheath, right? So because R1 is the button to activate that, it's also the button for key pulses. You can key pulse directly into stances, other stances, or sheathing, right? So if I key pulse directly into Sign of the Cross, you basically are rewarded with a faster animation, right? And I don't even think you have to perfect key pulse it. Well, okay, maybe you do, because that was definitely bad. It's a little faster. I don't think it's as fast as the animation cancel, but I think it's fast enough that in that instance you don't really need to do the animation cancel. So if you're just going to end your current combo into Sign of the Cross, you don't have to animation cancel. You can just go straight to it. The problem is Sign of the Cross is stronger in high stance in general. I think moves in general are just stronger in high stance, like active skills. And there's a thing you can get where you get these modifiers that you can put on specific skills that will change properties of them, right? So I have the one that's like gives it bonus damage based on my skill stat, and skill is the stat that governs like the damage scaling on dual katana. So I have that on the slash. So basically, it'll do a whole bunch of bonus damage based on my skill. So I pretty much always want to be cross-slashing in high stance, right? But I like to do this really fast combo in low stance. So I have to stance switch with my key pulse, right? And since I'm stance switching with the key pulse, I don't get the benefits on my cross-slash that I would get on the key pulse, right? The faster animation. So because I'm doing it that way, I need to do the animation cancel. So now I have to stance switch and then do the move with the animation cancel to make it come out faster. And that's where it starts getting really hard, right? Is I can't do it as consistently with the stance switch. So right there, that was a correctly executed one. So I'm like low combo into high stance cross slash. And that one's actually not that bad. I can do that, and I can do all of this pretty consistently out of combat. Put me in combat, and I just fuck it up constantly. Well, see, so that's kind of like the downside. That what just happened there is that if you mess it up, it is absolutely. But if you mess it up, you end up just not doing the move at all, which kind of sucks, right? Because otherwise, if I just don't do it, I can just be like, stance switch into long animation cross slash. But I won't say guaranteed to get it out, right? As long as I don't get interrupted by an enemy, it's going to come out. Whereas if I mess up the cancel input, I just go back into high stance. Oops. And that kind of sucks. So right there, like I said, I can get pretty good at it. But here's the really tricky one: is I usually like to end this combo with this move, right? And then I had practiced it where, because they put you on the other side of the enemy, so I had practiced it where I then have to go like stance switch, and then move towards the camera because that's where the enemy would be. But normally you're going to be locked on the enemy. So when you do that, like jump over them, move, the camera's going to move with you. So I can just do the normal inputs. And not have to worry about moving towards the camera. But yeah, also you don't do it So this build also just relies on this paralyze, because you get a whole bunch of bonus damage to paralyzed enemies. So you put this trap down, and then you make them walk into it, and then they get paralyzed, and then you just go behind them and do that. Like there was what 80% of his health in one shot. Yeah, so I just two-shot that guy with Sign of the Cross. But the thing I'm just trying to get into muscle memory is any time I want to do cross slash, no matter how I do it with the cancel. Like that right there was just the cancel. So like even just being in my stance right now, I'm like, oh, I want to cross slash. And just do it like that, right? The problem is I was trying to do it earlier when you do this paralytic ground fire, which is what this is called. You paralyze the enemy. And the thing is you're already sheathed, and it doesn't work if you're already sheathed. But if you're already sheathed, you can just go into the move, and it comes out fast, right? I'm not sheathed right now, so I have to do cancel. But normally if I don't get hit, right, I'll show you. I'll do a better example here in a second. He done fucked up. Alright, so I'm going to put down the trap. Because I'm putting down a trap, my weapons are sheathed. So I'm going to call him out. I'm going to let him get into the trap, and then I'm just going to go behind him. And then just do the move, right? Oh, so here's a good example. Like that would have been it's still fine. But that's a good time. Like I know where I can stand to not get hit by that, and then just do it. So whenever he lands, I just murder him. Yeah. That's it. This is the build I'm using right now. Because, like, when I was playing through the campaign, right, I had all of these stats like, oh, here comes the joke. Yep. I'm very disarming. Anyway, I had all my stats kind of like going up evenly, right? So I didn't have any stats that were like above 30. They were all kind of pushing towards 30 evenly, right? And that was so I could freely switch weapons without having to worry about redistributing my stats or whatever. But at the same time, I was probably hindering myself a little bit because as you can see, like my main melee weapon is my dual swords, and they scale off a skill, and my skill is 82, just like flat out higher than everything else. And as such, its damage is 1670 versus the fist weapons I have in my second slot, which are only 1193 because I think fists scale off of strength primarily, and my strength is really low, right? And that's a significant amount of damage because that's like essentially per hit, right? It doesn't mean 1670 exactly. I'm sure it scales. It's like 1670 is its base attack, and then it gets multiplied by a multiplier based on the move, kind of like how Monster does with motion values, right? The motion value of a move is higher the longer it takes for it to come out, right? And the higher the motion value, the more damage that move will do, right? So it's essentially, in Monster Hunter, I guess motion value is just a multiplier on your attack that determines the amount of damage the move will do, right? So I assume it's a similar setup here, right? If I'm in low stance doing really quick moves, the motion value will be much lower. But it's still like, we're talking like, what, 500 base attack here? Even if you only do 10% of that, that's 50 more damage in attack per attack, right? Than you would do at the lower value, right? So that adds up really fast, especially if you're doing a bunch of really quick moves. And I've noticed it, believe me, as soon as I put this build on in this new game plus, like enemies just started melting. Like regular enemies, I just walk up and like one combo them and they're dead. And it's insane. And even bosses, like most of the time in my first playthrough, bosses were like these long battles of attrition where like I would win as long as I reacted to all of their moves correctly, right? And there's still some amount of that. It is a bowl on my head. No, it is. It legit is. It's a Kodama bowl. It gives you luck and stuff, so it increases like drop chances. Anyway, but even on the bosses, right? Like in the first playthrough, it was more like once I learned their moves and how to react to them, it was just a battle of attrition where I had to just like whittle their health down with the amount of damage I was doing. Not to say my damage was minuscule. It wasn't like it is now, right? Where I could just melt through them in like 3 or 4 combos, which well, that's an exaggeration, but in any case, it just meant the fight went on longer, so I had to be more careful and react accordingly to their moves and stuff. But now fights are so much shorter because like I react to the moves accordingly, but when I go in and actually get hits in, I do so much more damage that it just shortens the fight considerably. So yeah, like I could absolutely see the benefit of like picking, like and maybe this is something you do on your first playthrough is just pick a weapon you like and build around it. Like maybe spend a little bit of time early on trying out the weapons, and then find one you like, and just commit to playing that one. And maybe you can do two, because there is some overlap in weapons. Like for example, I was doing the fist weapons, which scale on strength, but so does Odachi. So you could do like a fist Odachi build that would not be hampered that much because they both scale largely on strength. They have slightly different secondary scaling, because that's the thing is if you look at the weapons themselves down in the bottom section here, you see it has attack bonus heart, attack bonus strength, and attack bonus skill. They have a primary scaling stat and then two kind of secondary ones that they don't scale as much on, but they do scale on. So if you can find two weapons that have like the same primary stat and then maybe one secondary stat that they also scale on, then those are a pretty good combination to run with. Also, this weapon, it has A on skill and then D and D plus on the other two. That's because in New Game Plus, when you start getting these, if you see it on this weapon, it's a level 160. It has that +4 next to it. Once you start getting these plus weapons, you can remodel them. Where you can essentially change the scaling. So normally dual swords have a little more even scaling on those three stats of like a B maybe on skill and a C on strength and a D or C minus on heart, where you can scale those three stats up more evenly and get a lot of benefit. But in this end game, you can remodel your weapon to scale much more on a single stat and much less on others. And that's why this one, on this weapon, I changed it to where it's skill-based scaling, like purely skill-based scaling. That way I can just crank up my skill and just get a bunch of bonus damage, right? But yeah, so anyway, you can find two weapons that kind of overlap in terms of their scaling and run those together. But if you want to have, I think if you want to have an easier time getting through the campaign, it is probably worth it to just, at least pretty early on, pick a weapon you like and then build around that specifically, right? Like you might want to like buff up Constitution, because Constitution is the stat that scales the most health, right? It's basically this just gives you more health and that's it, right? But everything else, you kind of just want to hit the minimum requirements, because some gear has requirements for, just like in Dark Souls, you have some stat requirements for certain gear, right? So you want to level them up to the point to meet those stat requirements, and then beyond that, you just want to buff up the skill that does the highest scaling for your weapon, right? So like in this case, skill, right, which is why I have just a billion skill. Stamina, and this is a build I watched a video on online. So the stamina is as high as it is because you want to get, if you'll see my equipment weight, like stamina increases your ability to, here, like, that's the other thing that's nice about this. They have, just like Dark Souls, have tooltips for fucking everything, right? So affects your max equipment weight, right? And just like Dark Souls, you have varying agility based on your percentage, right? So I'm wearing 29.6 weight equipment, but my max is 44.8, and as such, my percentage is 66%, which puts me in B rank agility. B is pretty good. Like you have much. C is basically the fat rolling of Nioh, right? This is not A, but it's still pretty good to where, especially in low stance, I can dodge pretty good. A rank agility, it affects like how far I think you can dodge, right? So if I'm in A rank, my dodges would go much farther distance. In high stance, I think, no, even in high stance, I do regular dodge. Maybe it's because I don't have my swords out. Yeah, so in high stance with swords out, I actually roll instead, so it's a little slower. But yeah, in mid and low stance, it's purely dodging. But anyway, the only thing I'll say about focusing on stats while leveling up through the campaign is you just don't have as many levels to basically buff up one stat to a ridiculous number. But I still think if you focused on a single stat and made it higher than the others, you would get a pretty significant damage boost. But yeah, that's the thing I noticed. As soon as I switched to this build, like regular enemies just die super fast. Like it's almost easy at this point. There definitely, which to be fair, like makes me a little cocky in fights, and I've died because of that, right? Where I'm just like, I'm just going to go in and wail on this guy, but then he gets a couple of really good hits on me and just kills me. Let me go into a mission. Well, hell, I don't even have to go into a mission, right? Just pull out this Yogi. Like, normally I would have to have a bit of a scrap with this guy to win, but now I just kind of let him do a move and whip it, and then just... I guess he's still a little tougher. They might scale these. They might scale these a little differently. I don't know what level the training area enemies are. Because that's the other thing is every mission has a like a recommended level value, and I assume that their health and damage is scaled to that recommended level value. So like that enemy in a 120 recommended level is going to be weaker than that same enemy in a 150 recommended level mission, right? I'm going to start a mission to just show you, and then I'm probably going to go get some lunch. But let's find a 164, 163, 161. Like I'm probably way over leveled for all of this stuff right now. As you can see, the recommended level it only has 2 level symbols, so it's telling me it's going to be pretty easy. What was the lowest one? 162, I think? No, 161. Yeah, we'll do this. We'll start this 161. This game is great. Like, if you love Dark Souls, there's no reason. The combat is way tighter than like a Dark Souls, and way more varied, I think. Oh, it's this mission. Okay, there's a dude here, right? What was I going to show you? I've already forgotten. Well, how quickly this guy just dies. I'm probably just going to backstab this guy for the win. Oh, he didn't die, though. And I did an animation cancel, so I'm already failing. Sign of the cross. Oh god, there's a guy with a gun. Alright. We're gonna try Jesus slash. I'm gonna start calling it Jesus slash now, thanks. They again didn't cancel it. I just went straight into it. Didn't even try, to be fair. Like, because again, it's not quite muscle memory yet, which is why I'm just in the training room just fucking doing it. Yeah, that guy was super weak. So here we go. I'm gonna try my ground fire, parallel ground fire on this guy. Just go behind him and just one shot him. It's so dumb. But I also just need to use that so I can level up my ninjutsu, so I can have more shit. Also, when you're New Game Plus, you don't have to. It's nice. I don't have to explore the levels. I can just beeline it to. Try to beeline it to the end. I think this is a Nioh 1 map. Holy shit! Yeah, there was a couple maps from Nioh 1 that they put into this game, which was really fun. Which, to be fair, it's like you're visiting that same location, right? It's not it's not really cheap, you know, like Dragon Age 2, where they basically reuse the maps over and over again, but you were supposedly in different places. This is me literally traveling to the same place. That's in Nioh 1, right? Here we go. Here's a tough enemy. Let's see if we can do this right. Nope. Oh god. I need to kill this little dude. I don't want to fight two dudes at once. Alright, little dude dead. Oh, fucked it up. I say I tried there, I just didn't get it. Kick. Yeah, also didn't get it. Also probably wouldn't have been a good move to use there anyway, just because he wasn't stunned or anything. So even if it was coming out fast, he would probably still interrupt me. Generally, you want to like break their key and then go right into it. But also, if you break the key, you don't really need it to come out that fast because they're just going to be stunned. I want to get it. I want to get it on at least one enemy before I take a break for lunch. Oh yeah, I remember this place. This is not a Nioh 1 map. I lied. Get this guy in the head. Oh, he is stunned though. So there I did it, but like not at the end of the combo. That was just me doing it because I knew I had the window to do it. Oh, let's kill this guy. Let's do this guy. Come on, buddy. Hatchets, man. Yeah, fucked it up again. Yeah, see, that's so I think I told Scotty this, but I didn't tell you. The reason I mess it up so much is how quickly I do the inputs for this combo. I kind of just hit square button really fast, right? And the problem is then when I go to do the cancel, I kind of do the cancel at the same speed, the same input speed, and that's too fast, right? So I have to like do this and then slow down a little bit to do the input for the cancel. And in the heat of the moment, I kind of mess it up. See, I'm doing it great right now. But if I just like smash it and then I'm just hitting the hell. Wait a second. Okay, well, I did it right then as well. Whatever. But basically in the moment I'll input it too quickly, and if you input it too quickly, like basically if you hit the sheath command after the movement cancel too quickly, it just won't do anything. You'll just end up back in your high stance or whatever stance you were in whenever you do it. Yeah, I keep doing it right there. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, Nioh 2, very good. There's a lot. I'm going to just exit this mission because I don't want to do it right now. I'm going to use a... So you have two things you can use to exit. You can use the Divine Branch Fragment, which is infinite, but you lose all of your Amrita, which is basically your souls. You lose all of it and exit the mission, or you can use this thing called the Divine Branch. So that's a Divine Branch Fragment. If you have an actual Divine Branch, which is a consumable, it will let you leave the mission, but won't use up all your Amrita. So I'm going to use one of those to just exit. So the game's a little different than the Souls because you have individual missions. So it's kind of more like, I don't know, Monster Hunter in that sense. The maps are pretty big on each of the missions, depending on what mission you do. Like the main missions are these red ones, and those are the big story missions. They're pretty long. But then the sub-missions are usually like the main mission maps, but with areas blocked off, and they're much shorter. One of the new things when you get to New Game Plus is these picture scrolls that drop. They're these just an extra like piece of equipment that have when you get them, they have one of the stats that the special effects they have revealed, and then two random ones. And then what you do is, what you're doing is you're like going into the picture scroll to cleanse it and then make it an actual item, right? So it shows you what enemies show up in each picture scroll. You go in, you beat the enemies, and then it cleanses the scroll and you can equip it. There are things called Twilight Missions, which are just harder versions of the missions, but with greater rewards. And then there's some other shit that's in like New Game Plus Plus or New Game Plus 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 that I obviously haven't gotten to yet. Like there's a mode called the Abyss, which is like a tower or maybe a floor, kind of like a dungeon you delve into, and at the end of each level there's a boss, and then each level I think just gets harder as you go. Kind of a roguelike almost in that sense, because I think I saw somebody doing it, and there were bonus like buffs you could pick at the end, which has me super excited because I love I love roguelikes, right? But it also gets really insane. There's also something, so like, you don't get this green, which is Divine Gear. You don't get that until you beat the game. This is New Game Plus only. But I think in New Game, I don't know if it's New Game Plus Plus or New Game Plus Plus Plus, you start getting orange tier gear, which is called Ethereal, and then your builds start getting really crazy. I've seen damage numbers, like attack, like I have 1670 on my dual swords, but they get up into like 5 and 6K. Yeah. So I got a lot of Nioh playing ahead of me, at least until Hunter comes out, and I'll probably take a break. But I kind of want to do all of the New Game Pluses in this one. I didn't do that in the first Nioh, so I'm kind of taking this one to finally go and do it. Yeah, it's fun. Apparently it gets a little grindy in the end, because one of the build videos I watched earlier was the guy complained about how hard it is to just put together a single build, because as they added the expansions, they just added more and more stuff to the loot pool, right? So that just increases the amount of things, like not just items, but also like what those items can roll, like what kind of skills they can get on them, or special effects they can get on them. So that just basically increases the number of things you can get whenever you kill an enemy when it drops items, right? So it gets harder and harder to get the perfect setup. But I also felt like their perfect setups do absurd amounts of damage, but are also mostly unnecessary, right? Like you don't have to have the absolute perfect rolls to be able to clear the content. They just like to put together the most damage builds, which is totally fair, right? People just absolutely min-maxing their builds to do the most of day, like just to melt bosses and stuff, but also not completely necessary. Oh yeah, also there's a skill tree for literally every weapon, right? So here's dual swords, big old sphere grid skill tree, and those basically you fill those in by using the weapon. But there's also one for samurai, which is just kind of like base character buffs, and then Shiftling, which is your demon form. Yeah, it's a very deep game. Like I said, I feel like it's right up your alley. I'm surprised you've never played it. In my opinion, out of all of the Souls-likes, the non-From Software games, it is the best Souls-like, hands down. But it's also kind of the one that's the most different and puts its own spin on it, right? Like, the combat is way more action-oriented and fast-paced. The mission structure is a little different. And then there's also just much more variety in builds. Like, the build system, the gear system is way more on, like, the level of a Diablo. With gear sets, with set bonuses and things like that. And like, there's so much to customize in terms of the character, right? Because like, I have 2 weapons, 2 ranged weapons, my your armor, right? Which this one is a set, so I get all these set bonuses. You get all these set bonuses, right? And then you have accessories, which further add to the special effects you can get. And then also, like I said, once you get to New Game Plus, you unlock these picture scrolls, which are more. And then again, we're not done here. And then you have what's called your Guardian Spirit, which gives you even more, as you can see, more bonuses. And then on those. On those Guardian Spirits, you'll get these things from enemies called Soul Cores, which give you even more customization. So you can really, really dig in and make your own custom builds. Like, so this build specifically is built around, like I said, not just Yeah, exactly. No, and then. So not just, like, it's built around this set, right? So the set, like, specifically the 4-piece bonus, Sign of the Cross damage. You get plus 15% Sign of the Cross damage, right? But it also, you do, on your sword, you want to get Imbue Water. So water is a status effect called Saturation, puts on a status effect called Saturation. And I think what Saturation does is just, yeah, water-based elemental effect increases damage received from attacks. So if you debuff them with, sorry, you're right, Jesus slash. If you debuff them with the water thing, saturation, you just do more damage, right? So it basically stacks up as much saturation accumulation, which just says, because, like, you know, even like in Monster Hunter, right, there was a threshold, right? So say you were building a fire, right? They wouldn't get the burning status until you've done so much damage, fire damage to them, right? And like, as you build that up, right, you'll build it up, but if you don't keep attacking, it starts to go back down, right? So, like, you'll see it on the enemies when you start to put a saturation on them. It will fill up it'll pop up the saturation icon and then fill that up, and then once you've got it full, they become saturated, and suddenly they have like a 20% damage buff on them, debuff on them, right? But if you hit them for a little bit of that saturation effect, but then don't keep hitting them, it will start to drain, right? So you have to basically stay on them to fill it up. So anyway, this build is about stacking up that saturation accumulation, and then that gives you just a 20% damage buff against an enemy when they're saturated. And then it also does paralysis, right? Because you know how I was like, put down the paralysis trap, they become paralysis. You try to get effects that, man, do I even have any? I think I don't have any, because I think I just haven't re-rolled my shit to get it. But then there's Luffy. You bite me, I'm going to be very mad. He's hovering around my legs like he's going to bite me. But anyway, there's another special effect that's like damage versus paralyzed enemies, right? That basically just gives you a damage buff to paralyzed enemies. So the way you do fights against human enemies is you drop the trap, walk them into it, and then go up behind, like move around behind them and do Jesus Slash, right? And then, like, you basically stacked up that paralysis damage, and then there's actually a skill in the dual sword skill tree that gives you bonus damage to enemies when you attack them from behind. So yeah, it just adds up. Like, all of those percentage bonuses add up to just insane damage, right? But yeah, I'm just doing a build right now, like one I found online, but I could definitely see me like getting into late game. And it's also super easy, and I don't remember if this was that easy in Dark Souls. It's super easy just to re-roll like all of your stats, right? In fact, there is a, if you go to your hut, there is just a menu for builds, right? So like once you put a build together, you can just save it. And then as long as you have the items to re-roll your stats, you can just hit a button and immediately be back into that build, right? In fact, I need to update this one because I just got new gear. So yeah, I'm just gonna hit save and overwrite it. So now I have my currently updated Master Swordsman build, right? So it's super easy to just save those things once you get them put together, and then swap around them. I think you still have to have, there's an item that basically resets all of your stats and gives you all of the Amrita that you would, all the Amrita that you basically earned throughout the entire game, right? I wonder, I hadn't tested this, I wonder if you could use that. I don't want to test it because you'll understand when I tell you what it is. Like, use that item to get all of the Amrita back and then go into a mission and die and just lose everything. That would be absolutely awful, but I wonder if that's a thing you can do, or if they have a way a way of preventing you from doing that. Because it doesn't just reset your points, it resets your points and gives you all of the Amrita you spent back. So it'd be like Dark Souls giving you all of your souls, and then you just run in and die twice and just lose everything and just have to level all over again. I think that's why they prevent you. You can't use one of those scrolls in a mission, but I don't see why you wouldn't be able to use it outside of the mission. Don't spend any of your stuff, go into a mission and die. So you can still fuck it up. I think they just tried to engineer it so you'd have to deliberately do it, right? It was harder to accidentally do. Like you can't use one of those scrolls in a mission, because if you used it in a mission and on accident and then didn't spend your shit and died, yeah, it would be the fucking worst. But there are also items, because like I think I don't know if Dark Souls has an item like this, but if you die, there's an item you can use to just pull your souls back to you, right? So like if you die and you have like enough souls to level up and you don't want to risk dying again, you can just use that item and get it back. And they're limited, right? But I feel like I have plenty of them at this point. Um, yeah, it's fucking great. It's a great game. It is like I loved the first Nioh, but I didn't dig into it as much as I would have liked. I never played any of the DLC, and they add in whole in like with every DLC they add another new game, essentially another difficulty, another new game plus level. So like if you go here to the map, you see how it says Dream of the Strong, Dream of the Samurai. Dream of the Samurai is just the base game difficulty, and then New Game Plus is Dream of the Strong, and then with every DLC they add another difficulty after that, along with a whole bunch of new stuff. And so in the difficulty after this, I don't know if it's this one, the next one that they add ethereal gear, or if it's the one after it. These 3 chapters and the DLC chapters, I need to do them. I can't decide if I just want to go blow through them on the easy difficulty, or if I want to wait till I get to them on the current difficulty and just beat them that way. I don't know. It depends, because I think there's gear and there's new guardian spirits and stuff that only come from those chapters that I kind of want to get. So I think I might just try to blow through them on the easy difficulty, and then do them again when I get to them on this difficulty. But we'll see. I'm currently just because I don't think when you get to the New Game Plus difficulties, I don't think you have to beat. I mean, you didn't have to beat everything in every mission in the first one. I think there's just an amount of missions you have to beat to unlock each chapter. So at this point, I've unlocked every chapter. I could literally skip to the last boss, which is this one, I think. Yeah, it's this mission, right? So I could just, if I wanted to, I could just skip to this. It's way over level for me, so I would probably just get annihilated. But I could just skip to it. I don't know if that counts as beating the mission. I think it's there's this on here. There's this bar and it says mission achievement rate. I think I have to fill that up to unlock the next difficulty. I'm not sure though. We'll see. So I don't think you have to like play through the story again. You just have to do enough missions, I think, to fill up that bar to unlock the next difficulty. But missions go a lot faster now because I'm not exploring every nook and cranny, because I don't have to find a bunch of shit that I was looking for like the Platinum Trophy. So I just go in and basically beeline it. If I know like what direction to go, I just go to get to the end of the mission and finish it. Yeah, it's good. It's a lot of the things I like about other games just rolled into a single. Like I love loot-based games. I love like going after specific pieces of gear. So to be fair, it's random, right? In a lot of cases, right? Leave them grannies alone. What did I say? Anyway, it has the randomness of loot drops, which a lot of people don't like. I kind of like it. It just depends on how. If you get to a point where you're looking for a specific thing and it takes forever to find it, Nook and Grannies, gotcha. I think that's right. What was I saying? There are things that drop off of specific enemies, like blacksmithing patterns, that drop off of specific bosses, and those are like most people. That's what a lot of people will spend time farming, right? Because getting a specific piece of gear is a lot harder when it's left to completely random chance on random enemies. Whereas if you get the blacksmithing pattern for it, then you can just make as much of those as you have materials for until you get the one you want. So people definitely go after the blacksmithing patterns like immediately. I got the blacksmithing pattern for the armor set that I'm using right now, so I could basically roll up a more perfect version of that once I have materials for it and stuff. But I love loot-based games. I love it. Basically gives you something to like work towards, right? I'm working on trying to find this set of gear, and then when you get it, your power level spikes and you just become unstoppable, right? So it has that aspect. It has basically the Souls aspect. The combat is really fun. Like for my money, it is the best combat in a Souls-like game. Like better than Bloodborne, better than Sekiro. Like Sekiro is close, but it's also way more limited, right? It has the best combat in a Souls game, in my opinion. Like I said, it's in my opinion the best Souls-like that isn't made by From Software. By far, like nothing else comes even close. Can't even think of that many. Like how many other ones have I played? Like Jedi Fallen Order is technically a Souls-like, but man, that game was okay. It's not Armored Core, you're right. Look, here's what's going to happen is From Software is finally going to make your fucking Armored Core, and then this team is going to be like, you know what, we could make an Armored Core like, and then they're going to make an Armored Core, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome too. Luffy, what are you doing? Have I ever mentioned my cat as a doofus? He's a doofus. Anyway, I'm fucking starving. I'm going to go get lunch. Thanks for watching. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I got a lot more of this planned for later. Also, I don't know how comfortable you'd feel hanging out with Wyatt's friends, but my plan was I'm going to buy the Monster Hunter movie digitally today, and then we're all going to get on Discord and watch party it and like just completely make fun of it. Luffy, what are you doing? I do not understand my cat. Anyway, if you're interested in watching, you could just come in and turn and mute things and watch if you want. That's literally the only way I think I would watch that movie is if I'm watching it with a bunch of people and we're all just fucking shitting on it. So yeah, I'll let you know when that's happening. It's going to be later tonight, probably after. I think Amy, Wyatt's wife, said she wasn't going to be home from work till like after 7, so it'll be later in the evening. Sure. They're a really cool crowd. They're really, receptive to other people. Like I brought in old World of Warcraft, a college friend of mine who I hadn't actually talked to a ton in a while. I brought him in playing WoW with them, and he's gotten along great. So, yeah. And you don't have to play World of Warcraft. They play all kinds of video games, like Monster Hunter. But I did warn some other people in the group. I said, if you don't play Monster Hunter and you watch this movie with us, just be warned that there are going to be a lot of Monster Hunter players in the group. So be prepared for a bunch of like pushes glasses up. Actually, comments. Luffy! You dumb idiot. He just tried to get on top of his scratching post and knocked it over on himself. You dumb cat. Alright. I ended up having to take, I don't know if you can hear me very well because I walked away from my controller. I ended up having to just take that entire blind set down. I finally figured out how to do it. So I'm going to have to, I guess, call maintenance and be like, hey, I need to replace some of my blinds because my cat keeps ruining them. I did figure out how to, because you know how like on the doors in my living room, they were secured, the blinds were secured at the bottom. I never even checked. I don't know why. I've lived here for 3 years and I never checked this, but like I never looked to see how you could undo those at the bottom, right? Because all I had to do, like all I did on most of my other blinds is just pull them up a little bit and then he can't get into them, right? And I just assumed I couldn't do it for the door blinds because they were secured at the bottom. Like, no, it's really easy to just pop those out and raise them up. So I should have done that ages ago to keep him from getting into them and chewing up. Because he legit, on this blind set, what happened is he legit chewed through the string that the drawstring is attached to. So as soon as I tried to pull the string, it just came out, right? So that whole side of the blinds just won't pull up anymore. So they're ruined. Like those are absolutely broken. I mean, granted, he's ruined another pair in a different way, but those are just completely ruined. So I'm just gonna have to call maintenance and have them come swap them out. It's also weird for me to be talking to you through a YouTube video instead of just being in Discord, but that was the easier way to do it at the time because I was also talking to Scotty. Anyway, I'll let you know when Monster Hunter happens, the movie. I'm going to drink a lot probably, just to make it that much more fun. I say a lot. I have a bunch of like beer and seltzer drinks, which have not as yet phased me in the slightest, but I also don't drink them a lot, so... But, you know, bad movies are more entertaining with alcohol, I think. Yeah, so yeah, I'll message you later when we figure out what time we're going to watch the movie. Well, it's like lemonade seltzer. It's the only, like, seltzer drink so far that I found that is actually tolerable, because I got some of the, like, it wasn't White Claw, but, like, White Claw equivalent, and, man, it's fucking terrible. I don't know how people drink that shit. I know people who drink just straight-up seltzer water. I'm like, how? It's awful. I saw a tweet from a Twitch streamer, like literally yesterday, where they said seltzer water tastes like TV static. And I'm like, man, that is a fucking great analogy. Tastes like TV static. Anyway, for real, I'm going to go get lunch. I will message you when we're ready to go. We're ready to watch the movie. I'm going to close the stream now. Goodbye.